Are you enjoying the game today too? Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are strapping into a sentient little spaceship named Opa-Opa and traveling all the way back to 1986. We're exploring the Sega arcade hit that basically invented the shopping STG genre, Fantasy Zone.
It really is one of the most structurally subversive games Sega ever made. I mean, when it landed on the System 16A, it was a total visual shock.
Right. What were other shooters like at the time?
Think about it. They were all gritty, metallic, sci-fi, dark tunnels, that kind of thing. Fantasy Zone was the complete opposite. It was vibrant, pastel, pop art. Everything was warm and curved.
It looked like a cheerful carnival.
Exactly. But it was hiding a game mechanic that was, well, pure cutthroat capitalism.
And that's the paradox we're diving into today. We've got sources covering the original arcade release, all the fascinating and sometimes just bizarre console ports, and the surprisingly tragic story that underpins the whole series.
Yeah, our mission here is to really understand the economic strategy that made the game tick, figure out how this cute little adventure became a Sega icon, and crucially, look at the literal console wars that were sparked by its home versions.
So here's the hook for you. How does a game about fighting, like floating cyclops and walking teapots, suddenly become this intense, high-stakes simulation of bankruptcy?
We're about to find out.
Okay, let's start with the world itself. For a game that looks so happy, the reason we're fighting is surprisingly dry.
That's what's so great about it. The setting is the fantasy zone, and the crisis isn't aliens, it's finance.
It's a recession.
Basically. The official currency balance of the zone is disturbed. It's causing this massive financial depression on a planet, and some unknown bad guy is hoarding all the gold to build a giant fortress.
So our hero, Opa-Opa, who looks kind of like a winged egg with feet, is sent to stop this plan. He's not really a warrior, he's more like an auditor with a laser gun.
He is, yeah. And the way he does his audit is through the core system. Arbitrary scrolling. Most shooters back then, like Gradius, were forced scrollers.
If you missed an enemy, that was it. Too bad.
Right. But in Fantasy Zone, the screen moves with you. If you fly left, the screen scrolls left. It's a genius design choice because it forces you to fly back and forth. You have to hunt things down.
It's not a race, it's more of a patrol.
A patrol, that's a good way to put it. Controls are simple, 8-way stick, shot, bomb. But your objective is to destroy these 10 enemy bases, these generators, before the stage boss will even show up.
And that's what makes the hunting so frantic, the money. Let's talk about the shopping system, because that is the absolute core of this game.
Oh, for sure. When you destroy enemies, and especially those bases, coins just spill out everywhere. There are like 9 different sizes and values. And this isn't just for points, this is cash. Cold, hard cash.
I can still feel that childhood panic.
Yeah.
You're trying to dodge a storm of bullets, but your brain is just screaming.
The big coin, get the big coin!
Yes. Yeah, exactly. You take these insane risks just for a bigger payout. And then that red SHP balloon floats by and you have, a split second to catch it before it flies off for good.
And that's the loop right there. You risk your life to earn the money you need to buy the weapons that will hopefully keep you alive. It's a perfect little capitalist engine disguised as a cartoon.
So let's break down that equipment, because this is where the game's truly ruthless side starts to show.
Okay, first up is speed. You've got 5 levels of engines, starting with a small wing and going all the way up to a rocket engine that costs $100,000.
A huge investment, but at least that price doesn't go up.
It doesn't, thankfully. But the shot weapons, Weapon 1, they're the things you're constantly buying and burning through. You have your wide beam, laser beam, and the glorious 7-way shot.
And here's the catch, the first big point of panic. They're all time limited.
15 seconds.
15 seconds. You pay $5 grand for the 7-way shot, and you have exactly a quarter of a minute to make your money back before you're stuck with the default pea shooter again.
It forces you to be tactical. You don't just buy it whenever, you buy it right before you know a tough wave of bases is coming. The bombs, Weapon 2, are just as specialized. Smart bombs, fire bombs, and my favorite, the heavy bomb.
The heavy bomb. The iconic little 16 stamped on it. That 16-ton weight is just such a perfect piece of cartoon physics.
It is. But all of this high-risk, high-reward system, it leads directly to the player's greatest fear. We called it a financial management sim earlier, and that's not a joke.
So if you die, what happens?
Well, this is where it gets brutal. You lose everything. All your purchased power-ups, your engine, your fancy weapon, your bombs, they're all gone. All you keep are extra lives.
You're suddenly slow and weak.
And it gets so much worse. This is what leads to the state the community calls Jinpin.
Jinpin. What does that mean?
It basically means financial ruin. hopeless debt. Because the prices for weapons, and even for extra ships, they don't reset when you die.
Oh no.
They only go up. Depending on the machine's settings, a single extra life can start costing $100,000, $200,000. So if you die a few times in a row, you hit Jinpin. You are literally bankrupt, and you just can't afford the tools you need to survive.
That is ruthless.
Yeah.
It makes the difficulty feel personal, especially because you can just accidentally turn around and run into something, and then they add those Geki Kaishi Dama, the return fire bullets that chase you.
Exactly. The game punishes you for surviving, and then punishes you even more for dying.
But despite that, it was a masterpiece. The visuals, the BGM, they were game-changing.
Oh, absolutely. The pastel look was such a breath of fresh air, and the music, that high-energy samba track was so infectious. Even the boss BGM, which was really simple and heavy, was perfect.
And the level design kept it from getting old. You had 7 planets, from Playleaf to Precarious, and they all looked and felt completely different.
And of course, it really solidified the boss rush as a genre staple. That final stage, Selfar, where you have to fight all the previous bosses again, that became the gold standard for shooters after Fantasy Zone.
So we've talked about how tough the arcade game was, almost designed to put you into debt. But the real war wasn't just on the screen, was it? It was in the living room. Let's talk about the console ports.
Yes, this is so critical, especially for anyone who grew up with these. The very first one was for the Sega Mark III in 1986. And the development for it actually started before the arcade cabinet was even finished.
Wow. It was the first gold cartridge. Mega ROM, a huge deal.
It was, but you know, squeezing a System 16A game onto the Mark III meant they had to make some pretty big compromises. The radar was gone, the bases didn't animate.
And the bosses, they had to change the bosses.
They did. The hardware just couldn't handle the multi-jointed bosses from round 4 and round 6, so they had to replace them with totally original creations.
And this is where it gets wondrously weird. They went full man's-eye comedy style with the names, didn't they?
Oh, they went absolutely nuts. The round 4 replacement, this fish-like thing, they named it. Get ready. The ultra, super big, maximum, great strong tot.
You're kidding me. The USBM GSTOT.
That's the one. It's just peak absurdity.
Yeah.
And then the turtle boss in round 6 was named DZ Deno, Roma.
Which is a reference to a line from a Japanese drama, right? Doji de Naroma Nakame. The clumsy, slow turtle.
Exactly. It was a total inside joke. But then in 1987, the Famicom version arrived from Sunsoft. And this is where the console wars really ignited.
I remember the disbelief. Sunsoft was, at the time, sometimes known for making kusogi, garbage games.
Right, like icky. And yet, they delivered an absolutely astonishing port. It was magnificent for the hardware. They got the arbitrary scrolling right. The base is animated. It was incredible.
There's a persistent rumor that this was the first time hardcore Sega fans felt genuinely defeated. Their biggest rival's console got this near-perfect version of a flagship Sega game.
And Sunsoft's reputation just skyrocketed overnight. We should mention, too, that the overseas NES version by Tengen was a little different. It had fewer bases and downgraded the 7-way shot to a 5-way.
Then came the PC Engine port in 1988. Visually, I remember this one just blowing my mind.
Visually, it was the best one yet. The graphics were almost arcade perfect, and it was the first console version that didn't cut out the background during boss fights, which was a huge deal for immersion.
But there is a catch.
A huge catch. The sound. Despite how good it looked, the BGM and sound effects were just thin. They were widely criticized as being lower quality than even the Famicom port's audio.
So it looked the best, but sounded the worst.
Pretty much. Which just goes to show you how important the whole package is. Still, the fact that it was ported so many times and still shows up on things like the Mega Drive Mini 2, it proves its status.
And that status brings us to the final and maybe most important part of this. The story's dark twist.
This is where it gets really interesting, yeah. You spend this whole game in a happy, colorful world collecting coins, and then the final boss just flips the entire tone of the game into this genuine, heartbreaking tragedy.
So after the boss rush, what happens?
Opa-Opa faces this dark silhouette that looks familiar, disturbingly familiar, and that shadow reveals itself to be the final boss. Papa-Opa.
His own father.
His long-lost father, yeah. He'd been infected and was being controlled by these things called Ninon insects. He was the one behind the whole currency crisis.
That's incredibly heavy. The hero has to kill his own father to save the economy. For a cute little shooter, that's That's almost Shakespearean.
And the ending gives you no comfort at all. The text explicitly says that Opa-Opa will spend the rest of his life agonizing over whether his victory was worth the price he paid. That melancholy is the real heart of the series.
And that leads directly into the sequel, right? Fantasy Zone 2, Tears of Opa-Opa. They really leaned into that emotional weight.
They did. And the family saga continued with Fantasy Zone gear. Adventures of Opa-Opa Jr. on the Game Gear. The whole family is just cursed with this tragic financial heroism.
And the connections don't stop there. We know it's tied to Space Harrier. The working title for that game was Fantasy Zone.
Yep. That's why you still hear "Welcome to Fantasy Zone" when you start Space Harrier. Opa-Opa became a true Sega mascot, showing up in the Red Photon Zillion anime, and even in modern games like the Yakuza series.
Amazing. Just one last bit of trivia, and this is a small controversy around the final boss music, Yada Yo Yo, right? Something about it sounding like a track from Darius R.
A minor plagiarism rumor, yeah. A weird little collision between two shooter titans.
So in the end, Fantasy Zone is a masterpiece, not just for the pop art and catchy music, but for blending that high-speed shooting with this frantic, punishing economic strategy.
I think so. That, combined with the profound final twist, is what gives it such longevity. The sheer number of contested, high-profile console ports just cements its status as a timeless classic.
So what's the final takeaway here? I think it's the fact that one of Sega's most cheerful, iconic mascots is a character whose entire story begins with a profound, incredibly costly tragedy. It's a unique commentary on what heroism actually costs, even in the brightest video game worlds.
The cost of balancing the budget was, in the end, everything. A heavy price for a high score.
Will the game be fun tomorrow, too? Have a nice game.